Well, deadline day had a bunch of drama in it. However, no real drama for Liverpool. Just frustration. Welcome to this episode of You'll Never Talk Alone, being recorded and live streamed at the same time for the first time ever. Not sure if anyone will turn up to the live stream, but an exciting thing to be doing regardless. Here we are. I'm Joseph Craven. Alex Level is here. Alex, how are you tonight?
Could be better, yeah, pretty much sums it up right there.
Yeah, it really does. The deadline window, the deadline day, and the transfer window had a lot of big talk. Going into today, there's a lot of big talk. There was this, there's 175 million, dollars, pounds, euros, whatever it may be. I forget. I assumed it was in, pounds or euros.
Bitcoin.
175 million Bitcoins, guys. We missed out on 175 million Bitcoins. We had, but there was all this talk of, Liverpool's getting ready to spend this much money on deadline day. And then no deals went through. Some departures, some loans.
We did the opposite of spend money.
Right? In fact. Shocking. So the question there is, okay, this whole day and this whole window, was it good? Did Liverpool screw it all up by not making any deadline day moves? There's a lot to ask here. We're going to start off this evening, though, by reading I jokingly dubbed it a manifesto by the third member of our team, Mr. Zach Osborne, who was not able to join us tonight on the recording process and in the live stream, but did send this rant in. And I think it's good to start off here because it frames the entire course of the episode. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to read Zach's comments because he has a lot to say that a lot of Liverpool social media pundits had to say as well. So here goes. A formal rant from Mr. Zach Osborne. Let's not kid ourselves. This transfer window was a total failure. We signed one brilliant attacking player who instantly improved the team, Salah, a young, exciting attacking player who looked good in preseason but will have trouble getting first-team action, Solanke, a promising left-back who currently hasn't broken into the regular first 11, Robertson, an overpriced, underachieving midfielder who we don't need and currently won't displace anyone from the starting 11, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. So, did we address our biggest area of need? No. If we had a giant wad of cash to spend, how could we not buy a center back in this window? It boggles the mind. Why did we insist on Van Dijk or nothing at center back? Did Jurgen Klopp make that call? Because if he did, then Jurgen Klopp could have very well cost us the league title. There's no reason to sugarcoat it. This is one of the dumbest decisions I've seen the club make in the time I've been a fan. Also, why in the world did we hype up the past 2 days with talk of major transfers? And if we really had a chance at signing these players, why did we wait until the final days of the window to make these deals happen? Want to know why the Liverpool fan base is pissed right now? Because once again, Liverpool talked a huge game and then completely failed to deliver. What was the point of it? I would have rather seen the transfer window fizzle out with no real news at all. Instead, we're treated to this familiar feeling of utter disappointment that so many of us have become accustomed to at this point. Bottom line, some combination of FSG and Klopp, I'm not sure who to blame here, wants us as fans to believe that Liverpool is a mega ambitious club that wants to win every competition we're in and return to a place among Europe's elite, when the reality is that we're completely inept when it comes to transfers and that clubs across Europe know how to manipulate and embarrass us. Am I overreacting and being overly pessimistic? Of course I am. But being a Liverpool fan has trained me to think this way. Don't tease me with promises of a massive war chest and a 200 million net spend and then give me one player to really get excited about and the prospect of our best player being sold to Barcelona. Did we add quality players this window? Yes. Did we overpay for a player we didn't need? Yeah, we did that too. Did we address our greatest area of concern and build a team that really capable of a title challenge? In my opinion, absolutely not. So, Alex, I'm going to turn it over to you now. Zach has said his piece here in his formal letter. And I'm going to actually ask you the question that Zach ends his letter with. Did we address our greatest area of concern? Did we build a team really capable of a title challenge? What do you think?
We definitely did not address our greatest area of concern. We
Right.
completely ignored it. We didn't even end up actually bidding for Van Dijk. So we didn't even come close. Well, I guess we did come close. We agreed terms and then blew it. But no, we did not address it. I don't think unless we just decide that, or unless we're able to actually pull off scoring 3 goals for every one we concede, I don't see us winning the league now. We still have problems in defense. As we saw in the Watford match, that is not – it's too early to determine if that's a one-off or if that was just kind of a relapse into last season. Mm-hmm. But the signs were there that it is not. I think I texted both you and Zach that match reminded me of the Burnley match last year, where our problems from the previous season reared their ugly head and showed that they were not addressed and were not fixed, and that it's going to take a little bit more than just playing out of it to do that. Right. So I think the fact that we still have Lovren starting, I don't want to pin it on him, but there's a lot that happens with him that unsettles everyone. It's going to be an uphill battle. Sure, we have these performances in us to destroy Arsenal, but we had those performances in us last year. Yeah. And the real test comes when we're playing early title favorites West Brom at the Hawthorns, or even worse, at Anfield, when they're not even going to try to attack. Do we have the ability to stop them the 3 times they have a counterattack? And we showed last season with most of the current defenders that we do not. So I think it is a huge, grievous error to put all of our eggs in the Van Dijk basket. And I think the most frustrating part about that is that we knew that that was not going to happen very early in the window. We saw that
kept
collapse.
Popping back up. It kept popping back up, and it kept popping back up, and it refused to die.
It was the weirdest thing. It was like, okay, there's some weird confidence from the club that they're going to get this person. They're not moving on. Everyone seems to think it's still going to happen. But, I mean, the language was pretty clear. We will not bid at all. And then it came out today that we would not have bid unless they invited it. And, of course, they're not going to invite it. We pissed them the hell off. Why would they be like, it's not like a 5-day thing. We completely disrespected them with how we revealed that we had won Van Dijk over to our cause. So we should have known at that point that that was going to be a 5% chance of going, if that's being optimistic, and we should have moved on. And it seems like today in that same article that Chris Bascom published that it was Klopp's decision to stay with Van Dijk or nothing. And I think we have to look at the manager there. One of the times we actually do have to look at the manager and say that seems like a very poor decision, and I don't understand it. I don't understand how that's the one player in the entire world, that could make that back line better.
You see, and that's where I'm going to try to err on the side of if it is Jurgen Klopp who's making that decision, then I'm going to trust it a little bit more. But that is entirely if it is Jurgen Klopp who is actually making that decision. It's not just Jurgen Klopp saying the right things in the media and trying to be a decent guy and taking responsibility instead of blaming ownership or anything like that. Because Jurgen Klopp in the past, when he's gone after a particular target, when he has gone after this particular target, that player has benefited the club and has fit what Jurgen Klopp is trying to do. Granted, what we have seen has been almost entirely attacking players. And so, I guess means we're going with the mentality of we're going to try to score 1 million goals a game and give up 900,000 and just hope it works out. That's right, 1 million to 900,000. Nobody looks good. So if it is Jurgen Klopp who's doing it, I'm going to feel better about it. All in all, if it's FSG who is making that claim, and then Jurgen Klopp has to live with their decision, then I feel terrible about it because they're pigeonholing him. They're not letting him build the team that he wants to build on a defensive standpoint either. But I'm willing to bet that it is Klopp, and I'm willing to bet that this means he feels like, no, it's not that I'm just trying to save face, that these guys are the guys that I trust to fit my system. And, we just have to get there. I'm not saying that's the right decision because I do still think that Lovren is more of a liability than anything else. But, at this point, it's one of those things where I have to say, we didn't do it. So we have to trust that Klopp's record of transfers on guys that he's wanted is the right decision here. I still think it's dumb that we didn't bring in anyone, any sort of cover for anybody, at least. It seems dumb that we didn't get anybody like that at all. But at the same time, that could be because we trust Joe Gomez to be our cover guy in the center back spot because he's already played 2 league matches so far, granted at right back. But in those matches, he's looked better defensively than going forward, So maybe it is that Klopp looks at what we have that we haven't seen, guys like Joe Gomez in particular, and goes, no, he's the cover that we need. He'll be okay depth-wise. And I don't know. It is mind-boggling from that standpoint. But for me, I have to go back to Jurgen Klopp's record so far at Liverpool when it comes to who he has brought in has worked out pretty well. In particular, I think about Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah. That being said, it's still frustrating, all the hype. I mean, do you think that this is a bigger disappointment for us right now because of the hype that was built up going into deadline day?
I think it's that and the hype that was built up at the beginning of the summer. It was, all right, we've got Champions League. All right, we've got Klopp. All right, we've got a butt ton of money. They explicitly said we are going to start spending among the elites again and targeting elite players. And sure, we targeted them, but there were a fair few instances where we just could not get the deals over the line, mostly the 2 people involved on deadline day. And it's so disappointing to see that we had this grand opportunity to fill in a lot more of the holes that we had, and we didn't take it. And it sounds like we're being super negative. It's mostly just because this deadline day is fresh on our minds. We did get some great signings. We got some good players in. We addressed a little bit of the depth, but we have more fixtures this season than we did last season. We could play, I think I saw 25 games between the end of September and the end of December. And that's a lot to put on these players. And especially when we have a history of having groups of injuries and players being out for a very long time together. So we have depth now. I don't know if we have enough, and we certainly don't have enough in center back. The fullbacks, a little more depth there has emerged, but center back especially, we're lacking, and that's what hurts the most. This was the time to fix that. Again, this was the time to fix it again. This has been a problem year after year after year.
It's not a new thing.
Yeah.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's where, for me, I have to look at it as if we listed, top 3 needs of this team. Number 1 is center back, either a better starter or at least, better depth. Number 2 behind that is overall depth, especially in the midfield. And, some of that is addressed. Obviously, that's kind of the mentality that they must have had going after someone like Oxlade-Chamberlain, that he fits that immediate depth need. And then the whole Naby Keita deal for next summer is the long-term midfield depth need. So I feel better about midfield depth all in all because of that. So big need number 2, I personally put a check mark there. Not the best check mark in the world, but I put a check mark there. And then in pencil, And number 3 there is left back. And I really like what little bit we've seen of Dandy Andy Robertson so far. But at the same time, we've also seen a rejuvenated Alberto Moreno, and maybe this is the season in which he is a better contributor than he has been so far. So that's a maybe. So out of like the top three, you've got one check mark, one maybe, and then one big no, we didn't do anything about it. And all in all, that's not terrible. If we had three biggest needs to at least address number two and probably address number three, is not bad. It just so much, I think, for us is being overshadowed by the fact we had so much hype coming into deadline day, so much hype at the beginning with we got all this money, this net spin, all of that stuff. I think we hyped it up a little too much, and that's what disappointed us so much. I don't know. It's frustrating. Friend of the show, Will Caves, is in the live chat and brought up a question that he also had sent us earlier. I believe he sent it earlier. Yeah. Do you think that we go back after Van Dijk in January? Do we think we go after that one again?
I don't know. It's weird. Again, saw some rumors circulating on social media this afternoon that our apology of not going back in only really applied to this window. So if that's true, then yes, we probably do. But again, they hate us at this point. They are not fans of us. Yeah. They are not fans of Van Dijk and his camp at this point. What would be the motivation for them to sell to us in January? One, why would they sell to us in January after pissing them off? Two, when have we ever done anything in January? It's been so long since we've actually done business in January. I'm not counting Stephen Calker. So, I mean, that we don't do that. So it doesn't seem likely. He also just signed a new contract very recently. So if we're going to wait for him, if we're going to wait for either, because assuming Southampton doesn't cool off, if we're going to wait for him, it's going to be quite a few seasons. And in that time, they could very well sell him to another team. So I'm sure we will try to go in for him, but I don't see the situation changing unless they have short memories, which I don't think they do. Lovren and Klein still get booed every time they go to St. Mary's, so the club will not let them forget.
No. I think this is also partially a statement being made, if I can say that, statement, since that's our go-to term on the podcast. A statement being made by Southampton that they don't want to be seen as our youth academy anymore. They don't want to be seen as our minor league team, They don't want to be seen in that light. And that I can understand. That maybe that's them trying to make that claim. And because of that, I just don't, and also along with that, we don't make January transfer moves. Yeah. We just don't. There's two things that we don't do right now as Liverpool. Is we don't make January transfers and we don't make deadline day transfers. Yeah. And maybe we should have expected that as fans going into today, but whatever. We got our hopes up and it hurt us. So,
well, there's also the fact that every time we miss a target near the end of a window, the line being fed is, all right, we're going to go back in for him next window. But when in recent memory have we done that? I mean, trying to think Salah, but that took a few windows in between. But I mean, when we missed Brandt, we said, hey, we're going to go after him as soon as summer starts. He wasn't even mentioned this summer. Pulisic, no. I mean, obviously he was going to stay, but it didn't seem like we really tried. Teixeira went to China, could have come back, didn't even think about him. Konoplyanka, after that happened, we never went back in for him. So, I mean, we just don't – if we're going to go back in for someone, we're going to wait a little while longer than just the immediate window. So
yeah, exactly. This is my final verdict personally on the transfer window as a whole is I'm not down on the team that we have built, quite honestly. Obviously, love Mane, Salah, Firmino. I love the fact that Daniel Sturridge is still here. I love the fact that, we didn't sell Coutinho, so he's still there, whether or not we use him, Love that part of the lineup. Really like the way that we've seen Emre Can playing so far this year. And then to see Wijnaldum in this past match against Arsenal, back in better form. The midfield's looking stronger. And honestly, so far, I don't have any complaints against how Moreno, Robertson, Gomez, Alexander-Arnold are fullbacks. Really like that, Lovren, we know what we say there. Matip, I'd like to see more out of him to really justify him being our best center back, because he kind of earned that title by default just by existing. And it'd be nice to have a little bit more out of that. And goalkeeping situation, so far Miggs and Karius have we don't know. Well, supposedly Karius held his own against Arsenal, but Miggs has held his own. So I look at the lineup, I look at the team, and I look at the way that Jurgen Klopp has them playing, and I don't have many complaints. My frustrations with the team and what I think will ultimately harm us is with FSG. I do think that FSG is continuing to botch transfers. They're continuing to build up the excitement in the fan base over transfers, and not all the things that FSG is in charge of seem to be going fairly poorly. Maybe the best thing so far is like the way the kits look this year, because they're very pretty kits, and that comes from above. But FSG is what's frustrating me, not the team, and not Klopp so far. Granted, I don't know how much of his, how involved he actually is in the transfers. But all that being said, like my frustrations, I'm frustrated at the team, but I have faith in. I'm frustrated at the management, the ownership. I have faith in management and Klopp and the squad. I do. I have faith in them. But I just feel like FSG is not doing what they're supposed to help the team out. But that's my take on it. Real quick, let's go through all the players that came in this window. All 4 of them. Let's talk about them real quick and just say whether or not they were a good move, the right move. We'll look at it in those two things. So Mohamed Salah, I think it's pretty easy to say that he was both a really good move and he was the right move to make, because he and Mane together are a duo that I just don't see any defensive setup in the Premier League being able to contain whatsoever. Your take on that?
Yeah, he's by far our best signing of the window. So I am thrilled to have him. He's added so much to our attack already. And he puts work in every time. You see him tracking back. You see him getting forward. And just can't say enough about how excited I am to have him.
He absolutely is changing the attack. Just his presence.
Yeah.
Like Mane already proved to be invaluable last season. Firmino was really benefiting from that. Now to have Salah in there too. It's changed things. That attack is ridiculous.
If we're going to mount a title challenge, it will be because of him and Firmino and Mane.
Yeah, exactly. How about the Ox? We're going to go in value of how much was paid for them. The Ox, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. Was he a good signing? Is he the right signing?
Much like the Football Ramble always says, it's always great to have an Alex in there, although they always Marcus. So, but I kind of waffled back and forth with this signing throughout the summer, and the conclusion I always came back to was that I'm fine with having him on the team. I'm not fine with him being the big signing that we signed off with, but yeah. I'm fine with having him on the team. He's a good player. I think he's a great player trapped in a good player's body right now. I think Klopp can really do wonders with him. He's got the tools to be a great player, and we saw the goal that he scored against us last season in the opener. It was magnificent. Another one that's going to work really hard. He's very versatile. He's going to give us depth. He's despite his injury record, he played more matches than Hendo and Sturridge last season.
Yeah.
So that seems to be fixed. Although when you come to Liverpool, you're going to break. So
yeah,
just be prepared for that. But
it's in the contract.
Yeah, I'm fine with him. Not as excited as Salah, but I'm fine with having him for sure.
Yeah, I think he's a good signing. I don't think he's the right signing. I think that the efforts placed into bringing him over could have and probably should have been put into, reinforcing center back position in some sort of way.
Finishing Lamar.
Right. But here's the thing. I don't know if I would have said that Lamar is the right signing, the right transfer. I think Lamar would have been a great signing. I don't think Lamar would have been the right signing if we're keeping Coutinho, that sort of thing. If Coutinho moves, then Lamar's the right signing. Coutinho moves, we instantly swoop in and grab him. Yeah, no questions asked there. But keeping Coutinho, and then it's like, okay, well, what do you do? Do you really want to spend that much money on Lamar if you don't have plans to sell Coutinho immediately? It would not have been the right signing either. The right signing would have been addressing center back in some sort of way.
Yeah,
that would have been the right signing. But I think Ox is a good signing. I mean, we're probably looking at him to be, I think the word is, the James Milner replacement. And it makes total sense to me. He does everything that James Milner does as far as like being just the overall workhorse. They're even kind of built, stouter. So it makes sense. Will in the live chat summed it up well, that Lamar would have been a square peg in a round hole if no other moves were made. I think I agree with Will in that. But that being said, Ox I think is good, not necessarily the right one, but still good.
See, I viewed Lamar as like a foil to Coutinho in terms of like that where he best fits positionally. Coutinho is better in the center, but can play left wing, and Lamar is better at left wing and can play center mid. So I would have loved to see Lamar just because it would have given us the ability to not have to start Mane and Firmino and Salah every match and still keep that level up. Because as we saw today and got kicked in the nuts today, he scored twice. The first one was magnificent. I don't know if he would have been the best fit out of anyone we could have signed, but he would have been a very good fit. And I'm just absolutely gutted that we didn't get him.
Yes. Okay, that makes sense. And I do agree with you on that one. That being said, I'd still stick with my guns on this because I'm a stubborn human being.
Yeah. Gold star for stubbornness.
Thank you, sir. Andy Robertson, was he a good signing? Was he the right signing?
I was not too jazzed when he first arrived, but I've liked what I've seen from him so far, and I think whether he meant to or not, he spurred Alberto Moreno on to be better. So he has multiple benefits for being here, and I think he will prove to be a good signing as the season goes on.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I didn't know enough about him to say whether or not he was a good signing when he was coming in. But I could have said even at that moment that I thought he was the right signing because for no other reason than he was a left back.
He plays left back.
Right. So he was absolutely the right signing to make. I hope that he does break into the starting 11 more often. I really hope that we use him more. I'm excited about what he can do because he seems to be a more complete left back. And what little bit we did see against Palace, the entire match ran through him, Yeah. So I think he's the right pick. I don't know if I could have said he was a good one when he came in, but Dominic Solanke, good and right. What do you think?
I think it was a good signing. I mean, he has been, I think we've mentioned it on here before, he's been talked about as one of the brightest prospects in England all throughout his youth career. And to get him for minimal money is fantastic, especially with the way Origi had been playing. It looked like we needed another option at striker to be able to come in if Firmino can't play up top for either injury or tiredness. So I think he's a good signing. I think he is also a right signing in a sense. If he's not a top-notch striker like a lot of us wanted when we first opened the window, he is a young striker with a lot of raw ability that will continue to get better and improve under Klopp. So I'm a big fan of this signing.
I thought that it was both a good and a right signing for no other reason than it was a free transfer.
Yeah.
Taking a high potential youth, a young player like that and bringing him in for free. I think was just brilliant, really was a brilliant move. So if for no other reason, just the fact that we didn't have to spend money on him and brought him in, it was great. I thought both good and right signings. So we're going to look at a couple of comments that were left when we went onto social media earlier today and dug around to try to get some fan comments about how the day went. Dan Conrad said he may spend the night watching Coutinho play for Brazil and being unsure about how he feels. I think we feel that in the last episode that we put out earlier this week, we agreed, we're really frustrated with the guy. I'm glad that he's still around because he is incredibly talented. And even with, Mane and Salah doing what they do, you got to think Coutinho is still technically the most talented player on the team. But what kind of Coutinho can we get this season? What are we actually going to see out of him? How do you feel about the situation now that, he has not been sold?
Well, there's still one day
left
for this to drag on even longer, although he's not going to leave. But he's got some splaining to do. He's going to have to really talk to his teammates, talk to his coach, and talk to the fans and be like, look, I was a dick, and I'm sorry. And I'm going to put a shift in this season. And if I'm going to move next season, that will be unrelated to how I'm performing this season. I'm going to do my best, and we're going to try to win stuff. So as long as he comes in and does that, I'll be okay with it. It sucks right now. It's really awkward and uncomfortable. And there's no way the club can just act like this never happened. There will have to be an addressing of this whole situation.
Yeah. It's I can't imagine what that meeting is going to be like. That's going to be incredibly awkward.
Yeah.
Incredibly awkward. But it's got to be done.
Yeah, it has to be.
I'm uncomfortable thinking about it now.
Because we really need someone of his skill set. Yeah, another reason why I wanted Lamar is because he has that ability, that creative ability, that, yes, we've seen a little bit of it from Emre and Genie, and Lallana has it to a certain extent, but that ability to completely unlock a defense, to create something out of nothing, to shimmy one way, send the defenders for a hot dog, and finish, that was something that Coutinho has in our center mid above all else, and that was something that Lamar possibly could have brought wherever he played. So we still didn't address the fact that we're a bit lacking in the creative genius department.
Yes, but that's exactly what Coutinho brings, more so than Mane and Salah do, is the just absolute creativity. Absolute creativity. I was about to say absolutely again for no reason. I'm stuck on that word. Hugh Kellenberger says that unlike most of Liverpool Twitter, he felt pretty comfortable with how things ended. Certainly not the flurry of signings we hoped for or expected, but Klopp got business done early. Very true. And we didn't have to do anything today. I'd slightly disagree because I do think we should have done something with center backs. But he's right. Ox was not a need to sort of signing. But he feels like the club's in a good spot. His comment was one that kind of brought me back from the edge a little bit out of my frustrations at the club. He's right. We did make good moves early on, and Salah is going to be huge for the team for the entire season. Do you think that the squad itself is in a good spot?
I think so. I think we have a good the way I'm viewing it, and I've kind of reached this, and this is how I've realized that I felt about it. It's a good squad right now. There's absolutely no reason it could not have been better.
Yeah,
and that's the frustrating part. And we haven't even talked about it yet, but I mean, we have Keita coming in next season,
right?
And that is huge, and that gives us something to look forward to. Unfortunately, it's not this summer, but I mean, we did some good business. Absolutely no reason other than our own incompetence that we did not do even better business.
That's very true. Well, I mean, our own incompetence / Southampton being really difficult to work with.
Well, that happened because of our incompetence. We leaked the fact that we got him too early and pissed them off for saying, like, yeah, we took your player already. What do you think about it?
Yeah, well, that's very, very true. All right, never mind. I'm back on board. Yeah, I mean, I don't even know what to say about Keita necessarily, though, because it's a next summer transfer, other than the fact that I'm really glad that it happened. and that I'm really, really confused with how the midfield's going to look next season with, Henderson, Wijnaldum, Lallana, Chan, Keita, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I guess Grujic is screwed at this point.
Yeah.
Poor guy. I guess he's gone. We can talk more about Keita when the time allows. As for now, it wasn't the most impactful signing just because he's not here right now. So it's not an immediate impact, but it's still a huge signing, and it's good business. And I'm glad that deal was actually pushed through and accomplished. The downside of that is that it gave us too much hope that Van Dijk would work out as well.
Yeah.
Double-edged sword there. Finally, going back to something that friend of the show, Will Caves, pointed out, Ryan Babel signed for Newcastle. Meaning that
the boys back together.
Rafa and Babel are back together. It's the way things were meant to be. Oh, man. Just absolutely beautiful. Well, to round things out here then, Alex, as the transfer window closed, or is closing, and so also this episode will have to draw to a close. Do you like that tie-in?
I did.
I feel really confident about it. Since everything's drawn to a close now, if you had to, on a scale of 1 to 10, rate this window as a whole for Liverpool, how do you rate it?
I rate it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I think we addressed some problems, especially the depth issue and having someone besides Mane that can play wing that we can become overly reliant on. So that is a big fix. But 6 out of 10 is the way. Like, it was a good window. It could have been a lot better for no reason other than our incompetence. So, we failed to address our biggest issue, right, and those problems will keep cropping up unless we score 8 goals a game. So, yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about it. It could have been better. We got some good players. I'm happy with the squad. There's infinite scenarios where we could be much happier with the squad, and I just hope it doesn't come back to bite us too badly.
I think I'm gonna rate it a little bit higher. I'm gonna go with more of like a 7 to 7.5. And part of the reason being that we secured some solid loans as well. In particular, our business going out was pretty good. We moved. Origi got a season-long loan that will, help him. And not only that, but we got money out of that deal as well. Yeah. So he gets plenty of first-team playing time if he wants it, if he works for it, which is huge because it helps us understand whether or not he can cut it in the league. Ryan Kent goes out on a loan for some playing time, which is good because it looked like more and more like he's got a lot of talent, but we just no room right now for him. So I think there were some good moves. We cleared up some space, and the one thing that does confuse me, that brings me back down on the outgoing thing, is the Mamadou Sakho to Crystal Palace transfer. What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's about time. Like, I like Mamadou Sakho, but it was very clear that he was not coming back, and I'm just glad that we finally sold him. It was kind of getting mean at this point. Like, we're holding out for a lot of money for this player that everyone knows that we don't like and hasn't played in a very long time. So we had to just bite the bullet, take $4 million less than we wanted. So I'm just glad it's over.
Yeah. I mean, it was rude to the player to do that. I still think he's a heck of a center back, and I hate the way that we really botched that relationship, because that more than anything else seemed to be less of a he doesn't fit the style or he doesn't break into the starting 11. It was much more of a we just don't get along, and and he's not mature enough to do it. And I hate that because there's a lot of talent there. And I think that if he gets his head screwed on a little bit straighter, and maybe, Klopp doesn't lose his cool at him in the same sort of way, then we're not having this discussion, and we're having a Matip and Sakho, center back pairing that by all accounts would probably be much more effective. But I'm glad that it is finally over. It kind of sucks. That's the one thing that drags me back down from like a possible 8 rating to like a 7.5, because Salah's great. I think Robertson was a good signing. Solanke on free is good. I like the players that we brought in, and I'm trying to not get too hung up on the ones that didn't come, and so the ones that we did move out as well, I thought were some pretty good moves out between loans, between bye Lucas. I know that breaks Zach's heart, but
yeah, we've got a new one. Ox took number 21, so
he did. It just seems right. So all in all, that's why I give it a little bit higher. But yeah, you're right. It still falls in the range of being mediocre window, just because of knowing that some things could have been different. And maybe that's just the price to pay for living in an age of so much speculation.
Yeah,
Twitter's kind of our enemy sometimes when it comes to that sort of thing. Well, all that being said, that's our ratings here. Alex, any closing statements you want to make before we draw this recording session to a close?
I know you mentioned it. I guess this is the time to ask this because there was a lot of look at the state of things after the window's over, and yes. I'm just curious about where you stand. And you did bring it up. Where you stand on the owners?
Where I stand on the owners. If this were a scale of 1 to 10. And 10 is like super approving of what FSG is doing, and 1 is Zach Osborne.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be a little bit more of I'm gonna be like a 3 on that one. And for me, when it comes to FSG right now, I'm not actively going FSG out. I'm more so going like if FSG is out, I'm okay with it. I don't care that much. They don't seem to be showing signs of understanding how the sport works.
Yeah.
It's like I remember, one of the biggest lessons I learned as a sports fan when I was younger was seeing this like highly recruited, highly touted like freshman basketball player go to a college, have a great season, come back sophomore year, and have no improvement at all. And to realize that, so you can be good, but if you're not getting better, if you're not showing signs of improving, if you're not learning the game, then that's not a good thing. So you could be talented, but if you're stagnant, it's not a good thing. And for me, FSG seems stagnant. They don't seem to be learning their lesson. What are your thoughts?
I'm pretty much exactly the same way. I was curious to see if you felt that way, but as you can tell, I'm disappointed by this window. This was their big chance, especially to make up for the post 13-14 season when we totally messed that up.
Right.
And I like you, I'm not gonna be tweeting like FSG out a lot or anything, but not a big fan. Wouldn't care if they left unless we got bought by some terrible person. But if they were to leave, I'd be fine. This was a big chance. The structure of how we conduct business has not improved. It's led to a lot of frustration. It's led to us being shorthanded in some positions. So not gonna really defend them anymore. Good at signing sponsorship deals, but that's about it. They don't understand the fans. They don't understand business. They've pissed off the local fans a lot. Right. So I'm not gonna try to rationalize any of their decisions anymore, and I'm just kind of waiting for them to not be an issue.
Even if transfer business was not a topic of conversation right now, they've still been so infuriating just from other aspects of not really understanding this world that they've embarked in, and apparently not necessarily trying to fully understand it more. And I don't know, maybe they are trying and they're just not good at it.
They're just dumb.
But a lot of it seems like they're not trying, so it's difficult. But what can you do? It's what we've got right now, and until they are actually gone, there's only so much we can do. But hope that they do improve.
Hopefully it just clicks. Play some Football Manager.
Yes, exactly. I've been doing it. It works well for me. I've got Brighton nearly promoted to the Premier League and currently in like 7th place because we upset Leicester and someone else. It was crazy. It's crazy. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening and or watching if you're joining us on YouTube. Comment on the YouTube video with your thoughts on the window, scale of 1 to 10, how you feel about FSG, all the sort of stuff. Follow us on Twitter at YNTA Podcast and tweet at us with anything that you want us to talk about on the show. We do thank you for listening and or watching or ignoring, whatever it may be. Like and subscribe to the video, subscribe to the podcast, retweet us, all that good stuff. Social media is a crock, and it is driving our society down the toilet. For Alex Lebel, for Zach Osborne, who could not be here but wrote such a wonderful letter that set the tone of the whole episode, I'm Joseph Craven, and thank you for listening to You'll Never Talk Alone. We'll see you next time.